She glided around spires. She saw people stunned by the pressure emanating from the monster as she screamed, "There's a monster coming! Run!" She didn't look back. She knew she would barely be able to escape herself, let alone save others. Kamaria was quickly seeing the edge of the city before Sasquatch said, "Escape towards the sea. The land route is closer to it. Just go straight into the ocean." She altered her direction slightly, seeking to directly fly off the side of the city and into the ocean. Kamaria muttered, "It's been like 2 minutes. Is it really here?" She made the mistake of turning her head to the side and felt her heart skip a beat as she saw its colossal form towering over not just the town, but even the gigantic temple overlooking the city. It stopped, and she finally saw that the surrounding haze around it was millions of tiny tentacles moving all over. She saw powerful cultivators shouting as they flew up to it and immediately get impaled by these vicious tentacles. There was no chance of resistance. It was as if they were less than flies to it as it ignored them, as the gigantic head looked down directly at the temple. A voice rolled out like a wave from this monster, a voice that sounded totally inhuman and colder than any she could even imagine. "Lesser beings, cherish the honor to be consumed by me. Die." The tentacles grew still for a second before they impaled all of the cultivators high in the sky and made their way to the city. At that moment, Kamaria finally flitted over the edge off of the peninsula and towards the water below. Her heart was beating so fast she was sure it would explode. She crashed into the water. Adapting to aquatic escape mode, mimicking the most efficient form for this environment. The wingsuit reassembled itself around her. The tough and spiky edges retracted to a smooth surface where water would not come in as she resurfaced. Oxygen was pulled inside of the 2 vacuums on her side. The form lengthened and resembled a sleek teardrop shape. The materials in front of her head grew pointed, and further behind her legs, a fish-like tail was formed. Above her body rose a blue-black dorsal fin. The suit changed color as its form resembled a marlin. The form punched through the water as the body undulated in the sea. Its powerful tail went back and forth incredibly fast. She looked back again and saw tens of thousands of others dive off the cliff. Hundreds flew up into the sky. Resistance or fighting was impossible, so they tried to escape. Tentacles followed behind each of them. She even saw one coming directly for her, who was way ahead of many. She dived further and pushed as much of her energy as possible into her suit to maximize its full output as her speed tripled. Yet even as she increased her speed more and more, she could still feel the tentacle locked onto her, rapidly following behind her. Those that tried to escape by flying were swiftly taken out by the tentacles in the air. They were quickly punctured through. Those were the ones with weak cultivations, whereas those stronger and with much faster flying speed barely escaped into the horizon, carrying 1 or 2 loved ones or their disciples. Others that tried to swim like her seemed to have had better odds in the water, but ultimately the drag of the water slowed them down where the tentacle finally caught up and grabbed them. As she swam, she saw as if all the fish and sea life in the ocean, just millions of them, were frantically escaping in the same direction as her as she passed them. The roaring of the water couldn't drown out their frantic sounds, or even of the people as they screamed in panic. She utilized her full cultivation, pushing to her absolute limits, swam around those in front of her. She even weaved between massive fish in the area that were trying their hardest to escape the horde of tentacles. Predators and prey alike fled, ignoring instincts as they fled a threat much bigger than the fears written into their blood by their ancestors. They all fled like one, an unending tide. Kamaria saw her vision self looking from side to side, confused as to what she was looking for in such a dire moment, when all she needed to do was flee as fast as possible. She jerked her head in the direction of a speeding blur, rampaging and smashing aside all the fish and people as it propelled through everything. Its speed was incredible as it cleaved through the water. It was the ancient corpse shark, the deadliest and most feared creature on these shores. Only blood followed as it rampaged through all things in its way. Kamaria's eyes shined as she moved towards it. A vicious hook was being formed on the side of the suit. She understood immediately what her plan was. Her future self planned to attach herself to the shark and escape with it. Kamaria swam between both large and small creatures as she made its way to the area it would soon pass through and was ready.